Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Hamduhu wa asta'inuhu wa astadihi wa astaghfiruhu wa uminu bihi jalla wa ala wa la akfuruhu wa ashhadu wa la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. As-salah Muhammad wa Muhammad. As-salahu bil-huda wa din al-haq liyadhiruhu ala din kulihi walau karihal mushrikun. All praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him, we seek His help, His assistance, and His guidance. We believe in Him and do not disbelieve in Him. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is His servant and messenger. Allah sent him, that is Muhammad, with Deen al-Haq, the religion, the way, the methodology of truth. And this way of life, known as Islam, will rise to its proper position in this world, whether the mushriks like it or not. Dear believers, it's a great honor and it's a great privilege to speak to you tonight. And I want to speak about something that is somewhat personal and also collective. And if you notice, I'm always wanting to talk about the Islamic Republic, Islam, and Iran, and that's usually my main subject. Well, I want to tell you how I arrived at this position. During the 60s, you know, we were involved in various things, and by the time 1970 and 71 rolled around, most of the movements within a short time had been broken by the government, infiltrated, sabotaged by the government. Some went into exile, Algeria, Tanzania, Zambia, other places. A few even went to Canada, but that's really not far enough. I myself did a lot of world traveling at that time, and running into a lot of experiences. And by the time I came back to America to try to clean up my situation, because we had came to the conclusion that you can't work underground fully and reach a good goal. You have to be able to reach out people by the tens, the hundreds of thousands, and maybe the millions. You can't do that underground. So, of course, you come back and try to straighten up your situation with the government, and usually you lose, you know. So I went to prison, and I went up to McNeil Island there. That's a federal prison out on McNeil Island up in Washington. But I got lucky that they sent me to Leavenworth, U.S. Penitentiary in Leavenworth, right outside of Kansas City. And on this coast, I had the opportunity, I already knew everybody on the West Coast, L.A. In fact, I used to almost live here, L.A., Oakland, San Francisco. But on the East Coast, I had a chance to meet a lot of the remnants of the movement, because the movement people were in exile, they were dead, or they had given up, right? So the ones that were in prison, we were all in prison together. And we didn't use prison as a place to cry and whine. We used it as places to study and to research. Go over our past, to analyze where had we made right decisions, where had we made wrong decisions, how can we improve our management skills. And the other thing is, what is the next step? Remember, civil rights, black nationalism, black liberation, black power. Finally, many of us came to Islam. But what is the next step? Now, first of all, I want to explain. Islam is a natural progression in the civil rights movement for us. So in those days, if you became a Muslim, you were joining technically the movement for freedom and liberation and justice. Taking your Shahada was very important, but you were actually recommitting yourself to the liberation movement in a higher form. That is an international, universal Islamic institution that would encompass all races, all peoples, but still as a time you have to figure out what are you going to do. And at that time, let's say 1976, someone gave me a small booklet by Maulana Maududi called the Revivalist Movement in Islamic History. And it was about people that are referred to as mujaddis. A mujaddid is one that will practice tajdeed. And the hadith say that at the head of every century, Allah will raise up a mujaddid that would revive, renew and restore his religion. In other words, would take the religion back to its clean, pristine manner. So, and that was a criteria for what this great person would do in our times and what some had done in history. I want to read you a few passages from one of our newsletters, 2001, about Islamic revival. And this is what Maulana Maududi had said. I'm just going to read the byline, not the whole. There's 9 parts. It says, diagnosis of current ailment. That means examine thoroughly the circumstances and conditions of the time and ascertain exactly where, how, and to what extent ignorance has crept into the religion. Number 2, scheme for reformation. That means it should be a plan, a methodology, a process to reform, renew, and restore the religion and wipe out all of its, the fitnas that have creeped in. Estimation of one's limitations and resources. Number 4, intellectual revolution. Number 5, practical reforms. Number 6, ijtihad. Number 7, defense of Islam. And number 7, it says, defense of Islam to encounter political forces seeking to suppress and finish Islam and break their power in order to make Islam a living force. Number 8, revival of the Islamic system. Number 9, universal revolution. Not to rest content with establishing Islam, the Islamic system in one country, but to make Islam an international and universal reality. Well, this was a mouthful, but it gave us something to look for. Now, to tell the truth, we thought, especially I thought, well, maybe in 50 years, this great personality would come along. This is 1976. So I go home and the Parole People Act group, I go back to prison for a while. But while I'm in prison, I'm studying again. Then, all of a sudden, we start hearing rumblings. Late 1977, but big time in 1978. And it was coming from the Islamic Republic of Iran. And they had this picture of this old person with a beard, a long beard, a turban. It looks like some mythical person out of the Arabian Nights or something. That is Imam Khomeini. And so, now we had been tricked by our leaders 1,000 times. You could imagine now, we're already disappointed in all the black leaders, all the African leaders, everybody. We're disappointed in all of them because they done all tricked us, they done all sold us out, right? And so we were hoping and praying for a good leader, one that wouldn't sell us out and one that wouldn't trick us. And it was kind of a prayer to Allah. If that person shows up on my watch, I'm going to follow that man. That this was my own statement to myself. Now, I didn't know that the person was already busy. I had no idea. So all of a sudden, in 1979, we have the revolution in the Islamic Republic of Iran. And now, I don't know if you know when the head of every century was. That was the year 1400. Isn't that right? Now, this makes the hadith fully alive. At the head of every century, Allah will raise up a mujaddid. Now, in Shiism, they don't use that term much, mujaddid. The only person in semi-modern history was, I think, Ayatollah Shirazi in the tobacco boycott of 1881. He was the only one that was ever referred to from a Shia perspective as a mujaddid type person. So personally, if you want to know why I have personally been around so long, why I haven't learned to overlook our faults, we all have faults, why we don't demand human perfection out of each other, or we can't get along, of the answer that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave some of us at that time. If that great personality shows up on my watch, now remember at that time we already been leaders and whatever, so if you're a relatively good leader, you definitely know how to be a good follower, right? You can watch the situation and you can help without the leader telling you, because you've been a leader, so you know what the leader needs. Isn't that right? This is a general thing. So what happened is that Allah gave us more than what we asked for. Because in the West, they have a saying, greatness of purpose, smallness of means, and astounding results is the criteria by which you judge a human being, right? Greatness of purpose to establish an Islamic state under the greatest dictator in the region, with all the support of the West, with all the support of all the regional hegemons, right? Greatness of purpose. Smallness of means, no army, no military, no underground subversive force, right? No infiltration and insinuation into the Shah's military, a Savak, none of that. Isn't that right? Greatness of purpose, smallness of means, and astounding results. When we say astounding results, it means earth-shaking, earth-shattering historical realities. Now, I'm just telling you my view. Now, you can have your own view. That's your business. But I'm telling you what we believe is the Islamic Republic has exceeded all expectations. The Islamic Republic have exceeded its expectations. Now, I'm looking from the global and the total and the human historical process. You might be looking at it, well, this guy don't do that right. They should have did this, they should have did that. I see that, but I'm not paying attention to that. You know why? We are looking at the big historical picture. And that's why we see it, and this is what I want to just mention, it won't take long. How do we see the present situation in the world? And first, I made a bold statement. I said, the Islamic Republic has exceeded all expectations. Well, the first big expectation was what? Survival. Survival. I have some books out there. Ayatollah Mutahari, Ayatollah Talabani. I wanted to introduce them to some of the young people because guess what? They didn't even know who they was. Right? And even many young people don't know, like 1980, 1981, the president is killed. Then the president and the prime minister is killed, right? 72, the 7th of Tier, 72 people, leaders, are killed all in the same day in one bombing. And the 6th of Tir, the day before, the Rahbar, the cassette blew him up. But that's why he's called a living martyr, isn't that right? All of these things was, can you imagine that period? I remember giving a speech at UC Berkeley around that period. And when you walked into the hall like this, of course it was, you all remember, Dwinell Hall, 155 Dwinell Hall. Here in LA, it was King's Hall. I could go to King's Hall blindfolded. We had so many programs there, right? Y'all from LA know that. Okay. When you walked into the room, everybody was worried. It was constant fitna, day after day. All the news coming back home was death and destruction. And then it wasn't no time that just a few months before, September, Saddam Hussein had invaded. By 1982, he's using poison gas. There's sanctions, there's boycotts, right? All the things that people hear about, Iran had those from the very beginning. Cut off, isolated, no support. Saudi Arabia, $50 billion. Kuwait, $33 billion. Saddam Hussein supported with all of the modern mechanisms from the U.S. satellite videos and pictures, pictographs of Iranian troop movements and everything, isn't it right? Poison gas from Germany and Europe. He had everything he needed, all against one country, and it survived. That's why I say, and today, after 37 years, the Islamic Republic is probably one of the most respected countries in the world. Why? Because any African leader will tell you, like they tell Iranian diplomats, they say, hey man, if they did one of those things, out of the 40 things they do to you, if they did one of them to us, we'd be finished. Right? Everybody knows that. So we say the Islamic Republic have exceeded all expectations. Here we are 37 years later with global respect, right? With the most tranquil, peaceful, and stable country in the whole region. And the only independent country in that region. Independent. Its own independent political and social and other structures, it is independent. So when we think about the Islamic Republic, we say it has exceeded all expectations. And the other thing is not only survival, but the export of the revolution. Remember we was exporting the revolution? Like we're going to export it all over? Flyers and Tehran Times and Kehan, passing them out at all the Saudi centers. We're going to export the revolution. Right? We're going to wake up the world about the Saudis. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. And all of a sudden, when we look at semi-modern history, what did we see? All of the enemies were put in check by the same one that created them, and it is repeating itself right now. What do I mean? If we look at the Taliban, they wanted to, when I was in Pakistan, they had, at that time, it was 14 diplomats in Mazar Sharif. In Afghanistan, 14 Iranian diplomats, 12 of them were killed by Taliban and 2 of them escaped and got back to Iran. Right? Then it was 235,000 troops on the border, ready to invade, and the Rahbar pulled them back. This is like some special intervention. A few years later, the United States of America come and get rid of their own puppet that they had created. Isn't that right? And the great Saddam Hussein, all the fitna he caused, who got rid of him? The United States of America. Right? Yeah. What I'm trying to say is, if we recognize the condition that we're in, and now we got our dear Daesh, these idiots. When I was in Iran, it was this time, well, it was the end of November. It was a big program in Qom, ulama from all over the world. It was beautiful on Takfirism and this Daesh people. It was the 23rd and 24th of November. But when I got back to to Tehran, on the 26th, which I missed, it was a program between the Pope's people. The guy almost looked like the Pope. A cardinal. It was a cross so big, I don't know how he could carry that thing. He was a cardinal meeting with religious leaders in Tehran and from other parts of the world on the issue of Daesh. Because Daesh not only killing Shias, is killing Coptic Christians, is killing everybody. It's destroying everything. They are the biggest idiots. They make Taliban seem like intellectuals. These guys are so crazy. Right? And then not knowing that they boss, when they get tired of them, they're going to get rid of them like they get rid of everybody else. Isn't that right? I don't know why stooges don't realize the worst thing you can do is make a deal with Uncle Sam. Because as soon as he finishes, he gonna get rid of you. They always do. I don't want to stray from the subject, but you know, when black people rob a bank or stuff like that, they share the money. They share the money, and they now, if it's 5 bags of money and it's $100,000, and one can slip one of those bags to the side, he'll do it. But he won't kill all the guys that was with him. This is his homeboys. But white folks will do it in a hurry. You go to the movie. As soon as they rob a bank, they get the money. Instead of sharing it, they looking, well, we can kill so-and-so. We're going to kill the one guy. He want to kill everybody, and the other guy want to kill all of them. Everybody, they're greedy. They're Americans. I was just straying by saying you have to watch out with making a deal with Americans. So, let's go back to the point. Out of the things that we stated, the Islamic Republic has survived. In those days, just the 3rd anniversary of the revolution, oh, it's a big deal. The 2nd, the 4th anniversary, do you know we've been around now for 4 years? Remember that? Each anniversary was like a milestone. Remember those days? It was a big deal. What we were saying was, guess what? We've been around 4 years. You know, it's a miracle. It was a miracle to the world. It's a miracle to us. So if you want to know why we stick with the Islamic Republic, why we don't demand perfection, or why don't we demand perfection out of the Majlis and that? Because here's why. If you've lived in Africa and Europe and here in America, and you see how crooked the institutions are, say like in some parts of Africa, you might have 90% fitna, 90% corruption, right? So if Iran has 15% corruption, we say, man, this is a great place. Right? Don't forget, we do have corruption. We do. But every now and then, judge yourself, your society, and what you're about based on how it looks with everybody else. Match Iran up with Iraq. Match Iran up with anybody. How's Iran in relation to Sudan? How's Iran in relations to some European country, right? Then when you can match yourself up with others of the same size, the same stature, you can say, well, this revolution didn't go bad. Look at the Russian Revolution. What happened to that? Huh? The White Army, the Red Army, they slaughtered people by the millions. What happened even in friendly places like Chairman Mao, whom we studied and loved, but I wouldn't want to be around if I disagreed with him. You know what I mean? And we studied Chairman Mao all the time during those days. What I'm saying is, number one, survival. Exceeded all expectations. Number two, death to America. I want to read a little something, what the Qur'an says about this issue, if I can get it. A couple of ayats. Here we go. Hence, leave me alone with such as give the lie to this tidings. We shall bring them low, step by step, without their perceiving how it has come about. For behold, though I may give them rain for a while, my subtle scheme is exceedingly firm. Now this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying that even though he give dictators and murderers some rain for a while, this is only a temporary affair. And I'm going to bring them low, step by step, in a special way that they won't even perceive that they're being brought down. You look at the United States right now. Look at it when you first came here. Look at its global prestige. Today in the United States, it is a theater of the absurd. The foreign policy is in disarray. They'll take the president and, remember a few months ago, some guy jumps over the White House fence and, gets into the White House. Then the next day, another guy gets into the White House with a gun, supposedly, and gets on the elevator. You know that's crazy. You know why they did that? That was the Secret Service doing that. That was the CIA types doing that to let Obama know, you get out of line, we're the one guarding and protecting you. If you don't shut up and do exactly what we say, we're going to let you go down the drain. You and your family. That's what they say to him. Because it's insanity to think that you can jump over the White House fence. I'm in Washington, D.C. We know the security they have there. You can't just jump over the fence, run inside, jump like going in here and pushing on the elevator and going up to the president, knocking on his bathroom door. You can't do that. It is a threat. It is a threat because the system here can destabilize the CIA types, the security types. They want to keep their people selling weapons, right, to everybody. Those are the people, the Pentagon types, those are the people who control the foreign policy. If Obama wants to do something, they'll just blow up everything and they'll blame it on him and say, you're a weak president. The point is, Iran has survived all of that and is still intact. And remember, the thing that made us close to Imam was greatness of purpose, smallness of means, and astounding results. In the West, they have a saying that power corrupts and absolute power absolutely corrupts. Isn't it right? But Imam was not corrupted by none of that. We had prayed for a great leader and Allah gave us more than what we prayed for. So if you get disappointed about something in Iran, I'm not disappointed because I'm looking at what's going on everywhere else. You see what I mean? And that means that now you and I'm going to skip a little bit because We have exceeded expectations. The revolution is exported. Saudi Arabia is now the most hated country in the world amongst the Arabs. Why? The richest killing the poorest. Using America, it's going broke. The biggest arms sales was made last month to who? To Saudi Arabia. The oil prices are dropped in the dirt into the 30s. From $100 a barrel down to 38, 35, it goes up and down a little bit, right? All because of Saudi Arabia, right? Saudi Arabia is known to have created Taliban, known to have created Daesh, and now the world is seeing that. The last thing I want to say is, because I got too much to say, I know I can't say it, but here's what I want to say a little bit. This pertains to everybody in this room. When those challenging situations come, everybody have to transform and transcend. They have to rise up to a higher level. In other words, we can't stay the way we are and get to where we want to go. We have to improve. That's why I was making a joke with the for sale sign today. That's true. You know why? We don't have a mechanism in the United States to explain to the people in a clear way that they can understand who we are, what we are about, and where we want to go, and more things of what we have in common than what we have against each other. In other words, we have to be skillful in, let's call it propaganda. We have to be skillful in educating and training the American people. Because in this global transition, now it's upon us to take full advantage of the situation that we're in. You may look at the world and you say we're in a bad situation. I see the note coming, that's why I said I'm going to skip. You know where you have a long, detailed, step-by-step? Well, that don't work. That's why you got to just jump from step 2, step 6. So right, I'm jumping to step 9. So here's what we're saying, brothers and sisters. Today is the time to, we have talked a lot about bombings and killings and destruction in the Shia community all over the world. It's going on a daily basis, weekly basis. The last horrendous incident was in Nigeria. Alama Zakzaki was brutalized by the Nigerian government, who works hand in hand with Boko Haram, another Saudi proxy. Quds demonstration year before last, 3 of his sons was killed. This last week or so, another 3 of his sons was killed. So I was told that, 6 of his sons are dead, 1 of his daughters are dead, and only because he's done great, wonderful work in Nigeria amongst all the Muslims and Christians. In the Quds demonstration, I guess the government couldn't take it when it was so many hundreds of Christians at the Quds demonstrations, right? And he had overridden Boko Haram, who goes around and want to kill everybody, and the government couldn't take it. This is what our belief is. But what are we going to do with this situation? You know, I tell the people in our masjid all the time, I said, brothers and sisters, I said, look, I said, Shias have a certain concepts. If you leave them alone, they'll go on about their business. But if you keep scratching and cutting, pretty soon you're going to reach blood. It happened in Iran, it happened in Iraq, it happens, what we mean today, to be brief and right to the point, with all the fitna that's going on around the world against Shias, it has warmed the hearts of millions of Sunnis and Christians and everybody else. That's what's happening right now. If you were active, you could hear it and you could feel it. But there's more sympathy, more compassion for the Shia community than I can ever remember. That is a gift from Allah. And remember, Allah says in the Qur'an, I would not waste the lives or the sacrifices of the believers. So if people are murdered, killed, and blown up, Allah not going to let their life go for nothing. What I'm getting to the point is here in America and all over the world, Allah have handed us everything we wanted. Global recognition, global clarification on many of the issues, stability. Iran is one of the most stable countries in the world, right? If not the most stable. It's got to be able to last all that time, right? Nobody else in the region produces anything. Saudi Arabia can't feed itself. It can't clean itself. It can't build itself. It can't do nothing. When that oil dries up, they go into the crazy house because they ain't going to know what to do, right? But Iran is independent. It grows food. It does all kinds of things. It's a diversified system. What I want to ask everybody is to think about the evolution of your thinking. It's kind of like dreamland type stuff. You know, I do have one thing that I'm one of those dreamers. I guess I spent so much time in prison, you're able to transcend the prison bars. You're able to float outside and dream. Well, when I had a dream about a personality like Imam Khomeini, that happened. What's going on right now is real. The only thing is, will we evolve high enough, become effective enough, become efficient enough to carry it all the way, rise to the occasion of our time? That's why I say we got to leave our fingerprints on the pages of history. Not to become so practical, but to dream about these, you know, these great lands and possibilities. Human beings have always, the Greeks called it utopia. People in Asia called it Shangri-La. You know, it's in song everywhere, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. The land that I heard of once in a lullaby. This does sound like a child's dreamland story. But all I can tell you is, dear brothers and sisters, dreamland is possible. Dreamland is real. And I'm going to close with this. Everything personally that I've ever dreamed about, Allah gave it to me. You know, I'm going to just show you a few pictures right quick. Now, you got to be an African American, at least 60 years old, to understand how sharp that Negro is. You don't know. See, you got a Mujahid knows back there, the brother right here knows. This is mink. This is so sharp, you couldn't believe it. Now, these are cars. These are kind of like the kinds that Shaw used to drive. Now, when I came out of Arkansas barefooted, we didn't wear shoes till you went to school. We didn't even dream that that was possible, right? Till we got out here to dreamland. Good God Almighty. Streets, lights, electric lights. You know, buses, you don't have to walk everywhere you go or get on a cotton wagon. You could jump on a bus, pop a nickel in there and ride down the street. You think you came to dreamland? I'm telling you, LA, in 1965, it was 16,000 people a month migrated, black people from the South to LA alone. The great Negro migration, you think Latinos migrated here quick? They just came back home. when we left the South, we left in waves that went whoosh, right over the countryside. It was dreamland, but they turned it into a hell, right? The beautiful thing about our history is that we had a chance to experience all the wealth and all those things that they say that are beautiful. Untold wealth, riches, clothes, cars, everything. I'm going to definitely quit. I know I can see it from here. It says something about, dear brother, please, we got to eat, or something like that. See, I said, sorry, no time. The last thing, I can't go off through all of this. All I want to say is we should be optimistic. We should be hopeful. We should take charge of our lives right now. Allah has already handed us the victory. We should carry it on all the way. Now, role models, some of our people was talking about role models, about optimism. This is a flyer from a while back. This is the original, that picture I showed you. That's me then. And right here, this is called American Gangster, because we want to be a gangster, so that's what we was. This one says Malcolm X right here in the middle. That's a hero. Malcolm X. When we became Muslim, we started working just like Malcolm X was. Wherever he left off, we started on. And we kept on working like that up to the day. Now here's the next hero. Now, when you take a role model, we take role models serious. A role model is somebody you want to be like, right? What I'm saying is not sacrilegious. Personally, I want to be like Imam Khomeini in America. That's right. I want to get rid of this whole Jahiliyyah and get me a turban. I can't get a black one, but I get something. And start giving fatwas on Bush them, and that's what I want to do, because this is our hero, right? Allah allowed us all the rest of it. Why not this? You can do the same thing. What I'm trying to say is dream big, believers. Don't be so practical right now. Don't be so line item thing. You know what I mean? Now is the time for, and I'll close with this, because this is what Imam said. And I'll close with this, because the brothers have threatened that if I don't quit, this is what the sign really says. If you don't stop in a few minutes, that's it for you, brother. Now, that's what they said, so I'm going to stop, but I'm going to read this last. Imam said, rid yourselves of depression and apathy. Improve your methods and programs of propagation. Try diligently to present Islam accurately and resolve to establish an Islamic government. Assume the lead and join hands with the freedom-loving people. An Islamic government will be established. Have confidence in yourselves. You have the power, courage, and sense of strategy needed to struggle for liberty and independence. You who succeeded in waking the people and inspiring them to struggle will cause imperialism and tyranny to tremble. Day by day, you are accumulating more experience, and your ability to deal with the affairs of society is increasing. Once you have succeeded in overthrowing tyranny, you will certainly be capable of administering the state and guiding the people. And this is Imam Khomeini. And I read this at the message to MSA-PSG 2008. So this is the old flyer. And I close with this, dear believers. It's been an honor and a privilege to know all of you all of this time. And when you come together with people for a common cause, because the common cause at the bottom of this is the survival and the growth and increase of Islam, and in giving the people something they deserve for a change, a chance to be free and independent and to serve God in an excellent environment. We have that opportunity right now, and we say take advantage of it. And the ones that are close to my age, I'm 70 now, you know what? I don't feel 70. I just take one more minute. You know what? Y'all don't know what age regression is, right? Age regression is, and psychological guerrilla warfare, we have it out with the Americans all the time. We make up stuff and we say anything we want, because psychological guerrilla warfare, it could be true, it could be a lie, it could be a mix. This is psychological warfare. So the beauty of this whole situation is about age regression. The government gave us so much fitna up to today, and they think that they slow down our progress, right? Well, what we think has happened is that the first 35 years was just training. And then we believe, we hope it's true, you can believe what you want. We believe that Allah has given us another 35 years on the other end, this end right here, right, to really do the work. The first 35 years was training. So if I'm 70 now, I'm going to retire when I'm 105. That's just my plan. You can't, Allah got maybe a different plan than me. But if I die at 71, I'll have the same big smile on my face, because I'm glad that I got here. Age regression is that you get a certain age and you feel it. Then, like when I got 68, I start feeling younger instead of older. Like right now, I don't feel like 70. I go up, do my workout, run every day, lift weights, laugh and talk. And the other thing is, when you're old, you're not willing to take too many risks, right? You get older, you take less risks. Well, the older I get, the more risks I'm willing to take. So that age regression is really working. At least I think it is. Maybe I'm brainwashing myself, but who cares? If you run yourself crazy, that ain't no problem. That's all right. But it's a lot of fun. The last thing, when they have great sports teams, a great training, and they enter a great challenge, finally the good coaches will say, boys, you done did all you could, trained all you could, now go out there and have fun. You know what that means? For us, going out there and have fun. That's why we always make fun of the government. We're not scared of the government. We make fun of them. No matter what they do, it's all a big joke to us. And you talk about making somebody mad is when you tease the American government and you say, oh, this is going to happen, Sam, that's going to happen. And you're right 95% of the time, you're talking about getting mad. That's what psychological guerrilla warfare is. Brothers and sisters, what Imam said, and I will close. If we get out and get busy, Allah will give us whatever we need to get where we want to go. If we do it in the cause of Allah, Allah going to help us. And you don't know what Allah going to give you because you don't know what effect you're going to have. I thank you again. I'm sorry for taking extra time. And I had an hour and a half talk here scheduled, but that's okay. I'll do it next year. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.